In the year 2079, Earth was no longer just a blue planet floating alone in space. Humanity had grown, expanded, and finally reached the stars. What once felt like science fiction had now become daily reality. Flying ships crossed the skies, and people could travel to the Moon and Mars the same way they once boarded airplanes. But even more surprising was Earth's membership in the Interstellar Accord, a great union of planets formed to create peace and friendship between intelligent species. The Interstellar Accord was made up of dozens of alien civilizations, each very different from the other. Some looked like giant birds, others like crystals that moved. Some spoke in musical tones, some used color to communicate. Yet they all had one thing in common: they wanted peace. After centuries of war in their own galaxies, they had finally learned that peace was better than blood. When Earth proved it was ready, they welcomed humans with open arms, or whatever arms they had. In this vast council of stars, Earth was the youngest member. Humanity was still learning. The rules were new, the technology strange, and the alien ways were sometimes hard to understand. But Earth was eager. For the first time in history, humans had a seat at the grand table of the cosmos. To celebrate this new friendship, Earth invited a delegation from one of the oldest and wisest alien species, the Volari. The Volari had no mouths. They communicated through soft waves of light and emotion. They were tall, elegant beings, almost like living sculptures made of glass and mist. They didn't wear clothes, but their bodies glowed with color, changing according to their feelings. The Volari arrived in a shimmering silver vessel, which didn't use fire or fuel. It floated silently, as if carried by thought. They landed in a protected area near Vancouver, Canada. The world watched with breathless awe. Cameras captured every moment. Leaders stood with smiles, ready to greet their visitors. But none of them knew that in just a few hours, tragedy would fall like a shadow over everything. Among the crowd watching from a nearby field was a little girl named Amira Lane. She was only 9 years old, curious and kind, with a love for stars. She wore a small backpack filled with space stickers and a homemade notebook where she had drawn alien creatures with big eyes and silly smiles. Her father, a technician working with the UN space program, had brought her along for the historic moment. She wasn't supposed to go near the landing area, but children often follow wonder like a magnet. She slipped past a barrier without anyone noticing. No one stopped her. After all, what danger could there be? The visitors were peaceful. Amira walked slowly, her eyes wide as the alien ship glowed softly in the sunlight. She whispered to herself, trying to guess what the Volari would look like up close. She wasn't afraid. She wanted to say hello. What she didn't know, what no one knew, was that the Volari ship was surrounded by a kind of protective energy field, invisible to human eyes. It was harmless to Volari, and even most alien species. But to a small human child with a developing brain and fragile body, it was deadly. Amira stepped too close. In a flash of bluish light, her body stopped moving. Her notebook fell to the ground. The drawings fluttered in the wind. Security officers rushed to her, but it was already too late. She was gone, silent, still. The moment was captured on dozens of cameras. The entire planet saw the light. The news spread before her name was even confirmed. Child killed during alien visit. First contact ends in death. Alien diplomacy turns deadly. Her mother collapsed when she heard. Her father screamed in disbelief. Journalists dug up photos of Amira, smiling, hugging her pet dog, posing with a toy rocket. She became a symbol within hours, the girl who loved the stars, now taken by the very beings who came from them. People were heartbroken, but heartbreak quickly turned to rage. Across the world, protests began. In London, people threw stones at a hologram of the Volari ship. In Tokyo, activists painted the streets red in memory of her. In Washington, crowds gathered with signs. She was only 9. This was murder. Send them back. The leaders of Earth were shaken. In the halls of the United Nations, arguments exploded like thunder. Some said this was a tragic accident. Others said it didn't matter. A human child was dead and someone had to pay. Earth had suffered many wars before, but this was different. This was the first time an alien species had caused the death of a human, and it felt like a betrayal. Military satellites locked onto the Valari ship. Fighter drones hovered in the sky. Some generals wanted to fire. Just one missile, they said. Just one warning. But others hesitated. War wasn't the answer, they argued. Not now. Not so fast. They reminded everyone that the Valari hadn't attacked. There were no weapons, no aggression. Just a terrible, heartbreaking mistake. Still, public anger was boiling. Social media was on fire. The world stood at a crossroad. Choose vengeance or seek truth. In the middle of this storm was Dr. Elias Munro, Earth's ambassador to the interstellar Accord. A quiet man with tired eyes and a calm voice, Elias had once lost a daughter in a car accident. He knew what grief tasted like. When asked for his advice, he said something simple. If we answer death with death, we become smaller. If we answer death with understanding, we grow. The UN gave Earth 72 hours. No attacks, no threats, just time to breathe, to think, to understand what really happened. The Valari, still orbiting in their ship, did not run. They did not hide. They sent a message to Earth in soft, glowing symbols. We mourn with you. We seek to understand. We did not know. And for the first time, the world wondered, what if they really didn't? The air was heavy. The girl was gone. Her drawings still scattered near the landing field, now a silent garden of sorrow. But the war hadn't started. Not, yet because Earth was still deciding whether it would become the monster it feared, or the hope it promised to be. 3 days passed, but to the people of Earth it felt like time had stopped. The world didn't know whether to hold its breath or scream. People were mourning Amira, the little girl who loved stars and died trying to meet them. Her photo was everywhere, on phones, on buildings, even carved into sand on the beaches. Some called her the Star Child, others called her the Child of Peace. But deep in their hearts, many also felt angry, confused, and scared. Because when someone dies, especially a child, people want someone to blame. During those 72 hours, Earth's leaders received thousands of messages from citizens, scientists, teachers, and even children. Some begged for peace. Others demanded justice. All of them asked one question: what now? In the skies above, the Valari ship still floated quietly, like a silver tear resting in the clouds. It had not moved since the accident. The aliens inside didn't send any more signals. They waited respectfully, perhaps even fearfully. They didn't want to cause more harm. But their silence made some humans nervous. In the United Nations headquarters, deep below the surface in a secure command room, a group of scientists and alien language experts worked day and night to study the data sent from the Valari ship. They tried to understand how the energy field worked, what exactly went wrong, and if it really had been a terrible mistake. One of the lead scientists, Dr. Hania Tse, a soft-spoken woman from Malaysia, had lost her brother in a tragic accident years ago. She understood that sometimes things go wrong even when no one wants them to. She and her team discovered that the Valari energy shield was not designed to harm. It was a kind of light field used for purification and translation, something the Valari used to adjust the air and temperature when visiting alien planets. But on Earth, the mix of oxygen, electromagnetic signals, and the delicate nervous system of young children caused a reaction the Valari had never seen before. The field didn't mean to kill Amira. It reacted as if it was still in a distant galaxy, unaware of how human biology worked. Dr. TC looked at her team and whispered, they really didn't know. Elias Munro, Earth's ambassador, met with her in private. He had been carrying Amira's notebook with him everywhere. The child's words, maybe aliens are just lonely too, had stayed in his heart. He showed them to Dr. Tse, who closed her eyes and nodded. Together they prepared a message, not just for Earth's leaders, but for the Valari. The message was simple. Earth wished to talk, not fight. But they wanted the Valari to explain everything, in public, so the world could see them, so the people could hear, in their own way, how sorry they were. The Valari responded with silence for a long time. Then, slowly, their ship opened. No weapons appeared. No soldiers marched. Instead, 5 tall, glowing figures floated gently down from the ship onto the field where Amira had died. They didn't touch the ground with their feet. They hovered as if the earth was too heavy for them. Their bodies glowed with soft colors, blue for sorrow, white for respect, and a soft violet that human scientists didn't yet fully understand. Later, they would discover it meant vulnerability. The world watched on screens in silence as these creatures stood where the child had fallen. One of them bent down, picked up a single page from Amira's notebook that had been left behind, and held it close to their glowing chest. The Valari leader, whose name was translated as Thalen, raised both arms. From a small orb floating beside them, light poured out into the air, forming moving symbols. A voice, clear and soft, filled the space. "We have no words that can carry the weight of what has happened," the voice said, "but we will try." Thalen told the world that they had studied humans for many years. They had learned about Earth's art, its music, its science, its wars, and its hopes. But they had not fully understood the fragility of human children. In their own species, young ones are surrounded by a protective field, a biological light that shields them from harm. To them, the idea that a child could be unprotected seemed impossible. "We thought our field was harmless," Thalen said. "We were wrong." He did not try to defend the mistake. He did not blame humans. He simply stood there and said, "We are sorry." At that moment, across the earth, something changed. People still cried. People still missed Amira. But the rage, like a storm, began to calm. For the first time, the aliens didn't seem like untouchable gods or monsters. They looked like beings who could be wrong, who could regret, who could feel. In a classroom in India, a boy stood up and said, "If they didn't know, then maybe they're not bad. They're just like us." In Brazil, a grandmother whispered, "I lost a child once, I blamed God. But now I see even the stars make mistakes." That night, a candlelight ceremony was held in every major city. People lit flames for Amira, but they also lit flames for peace. Some made drawings of the Valari, standing beside her, holding her notebook. Others placed flowers near screens showing Thalen's speech. The earth was still in pain, but now it was healing. But there were still challenges. Not everyone believed the Valari. Some said it was a trick, that they were pretending to be sorry to avoid punishment. A group of politicians pushed for the aliens to be banned from Earth. One general even suggested placing tracking devices on every alien who ever came to Earth from that point forward. Elias Monroe stood before them with quiet eyes. He said, "If we do not trust anyone, even those who show sorrow, we will live in fear forever. And fear builds walls, not peace." Meanwhile, Amira's parents had stayed silent since the day of her death. They had not spoken to the media. They were grieving in private. But when they saw Thalen's message, they asked for a meeting. It was not easy. Her mother, Layla Lane, had cried every night. Her father, Joseph, barely spoke. But they came. The meeting took place in a secure glass chamber where Earth's air was carefully filtered so the Valari could be present. Thalen entered alone, without guards. He carried Amira's full notebook, carefully restored, its pages glowing slightly from the gentle light of his skin. No words were spoken at first. Then Amira's mother stepped forward. Her voice shook. "She just wanted to meet someone from the stars. She thought you would be kind." Thalen bent his head. "She was right," he said, "and we failed her." Joseph stepped closer. "Will you tell your world about her?" "We will tell every world," Thalen replied. "Her name will be known in places no human has ever walked. Amira Lane will be remembered as the first human, soul we lost and the first we will never forget." Her parents said nothing, but tears rolled down Layla's face as she reached out slowly, not to touch Thalen, but to offer something. She placed one of Amira's stickers, a golden star, on the table between them, and Thalen did something no one expected. He placed the sticker on his own chest, where it glowed. From that day forward, that small golden star became a shared symbol. It was seen on Valari ships, on Earth uniforms, on schools and learning centers throughout the interstellar accord. The star of Amira became a sign of peace, of memory, of care. Back on Earth, Elias Monroe prepared a new agreement. One, not about war or punishment, but understanding. It was called the Protocol of Shared Life. It required that any species visiting another must fully study the biology, customs, and safety needs of that planet before making contact. It made child safety a galactic concern, not just a human one. The Valari agreed to the protocol immediately. So did other alien species watching from afar. They said, "Earth has suffered. Earth has taught us. We will not let another child be lost." And so, from tragedy, something rare was born. A kind of wisdom. A kind of peace that had roots in pain but grew with hope. Months passed. The field where Amira died became a garden. Children planted flowers there every year. The first flower was a blue star lily from Valari's homeworld, grown from alien soil. A stone was placed there, with words written in both English and glowing Valari script. She looked up, and we looked back. She stepped forward, and we saw ourselves. In her, we found mercy. And above that stone, forever lit by soft lights, floated a small golden star. The golden star that once belonged to Amira Lane had now become something more than a sticker. It had become a symbol that connected Earth and the stars, pain and peace, sorrow and forgiveness. People wore it on their jackets, pinned it on school bags, carved it into park benches, and even painted it on their homes. The star of Amira was not just a memory of a lost child. It was a promise that Earth would not let her death become just another wound in history. But peace is never easy. It must be protected, understood, and constantly rebuilt. After the day of the Valari's public apology and the handshake between Amira's family and the alien leader Thalen, things did not simply return to normal. The world had changed, and some people were still unsure how to live in that change. In many countries, people were still afraid. They had never seen aliens before the Valari. Now that the sky had opened, they wondered, what if other alien species weren't as peaceful? What if next time it wasn't an accident? What if Earth had opened its heart too quickly? News programs filled the screen with questions. Social media was full of angry posts. Some people believed Amira had died for nothing. Others argued that the Valari were hiding the truth. One man even said the Valari had killed her on purpose to test humans' weakness. Of course, there was no proof, but fear doesn't always need facts. To help calm people, the Earth Council and the Valari proposed something new, a cultural exchange program. Earth would send a team of young scientists, students, and peace ambassadors to live on the Valari homeworld for 6 months. In return, the Valari would send their own group to Earth. They would live, study, eat, and experience daily life among each other. Elias Monroe, now the most trusted figure on both Earth and the interstellar accord, was asked to choose Earth's representatives. He didn't pick only the smartest people. He picked those who had experienced loss, hope, and growth. People who could feel deeply, not just think quickly. Among them was Nia Barrett, a 22-year-old girl from South Africa who had once survived a war zone and now taught peace education. Another was Raphael Kim, a blind music student from Bob Seoul whose songs had gone viral after he composed one for Amira, using only sounds from space. And there was Jaden Clark, a shy farmer's son from New Zealand who could name every star in the night sky without using a map. When they were told they would visit Valari's world, they were speechless. Jaden said quietly, "I just wanted to see the stars. I didn't think I'd walk among them." The Valari ship arrived again, slowly, carefully. This time, the energy field was disabled completely. It glowed soft and open like an invitation. The humans boarded the ship. There were no metal walls, no loud engines. The inside of the ship was made of living crystal, smooth and warm to touch. It sang softly, as if breathing. During the journey, the Valari taught the humans how to speak their language, not with mouths, but with light and emotion. It felt strange at first, but soon the humans found it beautiful. A feeling could carry meaning faster than 1,000 words. When Raphael played music, the Valari responded by changing their glow to match the emotion of each note. It felt like speaking with colors. After 6 days, they reached the Valari homeworld. It wasn't like Earth. There were no oceans, but rivers of soft light that flowed through floating cities. Trees glowed with energy instead of leaves. The sky was always in twilight, filled with 2 moons and a soft breeze that seemed to hum gently. The buildings were shaped like petals, made of stone that could move and grow. The Earth visitors were welcomed with warmth. They were given soft robes, taught to eat Valari food, smooth, shining fruits and liquids that carried energy, and offered their own floating homes. Each human was paired with a Valari guide. Nia was paired with a Valari named Solon, who had lost their child many years ago. Solon had never recovered fully, but meeting Nia gave them hope again. They would often sit in silence together under the glowing trees. Sometimes, Solon said through light, grief understands grief better than words ever could. Raphael was paired with Lenil, a young Valari who was curious about Earth music. Together they built a kind of glowing harp that could translate emotion into sound and light. The entire city watched as Raphael and Lenil performed a concert under the twin moons. And for the first time, the people of Valari cried tears, a biological change triggered by human-style grief and beauty. Jaden, who barely spoke, found his way into the hearts of the Valari children. They had never met a human before. His quiet nature made them trust him. He taught them how to build paper planes and how to whistle. In return, they showed him how to float on light currents like wind. "You fly here too," he laughed. But back on Earth, things weren't going as smoothly. The Valari group staying on Earth was kind, respectful, and deeply curious. They tried to learn Earth's languages, traditions, and food, but not everyone welcomed them. Some people stared. Others refused to serve them in shops. One Valari named Theri was attacked by a group of masked people in Berlin. They painted "alien murderer" on her skin. The Valari did not fight back. Theri stood silently, glowing blue, until they left. The video of that moment spread quickly. Some Earth leaders were horrified. Others remained silent. People started arguing again. Should aliens be allowed here? Should Earth close itself again? Amira's mother, Layla, now rarely left her home. But when she saw the video of Theri being attacked, she knew she had to act. She had forgiven once. Could she watch the world forget that? She went on live television holding Amira's notebook. "My daughter believed the stars were friendly. When I forgave the Valari, it wasn't because I stopped missing her. It was because I wanted her death to mean something. Not more hate, not more pain. If we hurt them now, we're not protecting Earth. We're betraying her." Her words moved millions. Even people who had been afraid began to soften. A movement began, led by children and teachers. They called it Light for Light. They lit candles outside Valari shelters, made signs that said, "Welcome," and offered gifts of Earth-made art and food. One girl wrote, "I would have been Amira's friend. Can I be yours?" In response, Theri returned to the site of the attack. This time not to hide, but to teach. She opened a small learning circle in the middle of Berlin, where Earth kids could come and learn about Valari science and art. In return, Theri learned how to dance human styles, awkwardly but joyfully. Her laughter, glowing orange and gold, echoed down the streets. Back on the Valari world, Earth's ambassadors prepared to leave after 6 months. The time had come to return. Their hearts were full. Their minds, too. They had learned more than science. They had learned another way to feel, to listen, to connect. On the final night, the Valari held a ceremony. The sky was filled with light, orbs. In the center of the city, they placed a new statue of Amira, not as a human child, but as a glowing symbol of hope, with hands reaching toward two planets, Earth and Valari, joining above her. Nia spoke through light. "You welcomed us even when your hearts were broken. Thank you." Raphael played one last song, one he had composed secretly. It was called The Step. It told the story of a girl who stepped forward into something unknown, and how that single step changed two worlds. Jaden placed a paper plane into the river of light. It floated along until it rose into the air and flew toward the sky, never touching the ground. When they returned to Earth, people greeted them not as heroes, but as bridges. The Valari bowed before them, glowing soft green and violet, colors that meant deep honor and connection. Amira's parents were there too. Layla hugged Nia like a daughter. Joseph shook hands with Raphael and Jaden. Behind them, thousands held candles. Above them, a new flag was raised, not for a country, but for unity. Two hands reaching toward each other, with Amira's star shining above. But the greatest change wasn't in governments or science. It was in people. Children began learning alien languages in schools. Humans started building peace centers shaped like Valari petals. The Valari opened doors to other peaceful species. Earth became known not for its wars, but for its mercy. And somewhere, far beyond the known stars, other species were watching. Quietly. They saw what Earth had done after losing a child. They saw the restraint, the forgiveness, the courage, and they whispered among themselves, "Earth is ready." The return of the Earth ambassadors from Valari's world was not just a moment for hugs and ceremonies. It was the start of something much bigger. Earth was no longer alone in the galaxy. The connection with the Valari had opened a door, and now that the door was open, others were looking through it. Other alien civilizations, ones Earth had never seen, never heard of, had been watching from the shadows. They had seen the tragedy of Amira's death. They had seen the rage, the sorrow, the forgiveness. Most importantly, they had seen Earth choose mercy over revenge. In many parts of the galaxy, such a reaction was rare. On many worlds, an attack, even an accidental one, was answered with destruction. Forgiveness was considered weak. But Earth had done something unexpected. It had grieved, but it had also listened. That act alone made many civilizations curious. And so, it began. At first, they came in signals, flashes of light, patterns in radio waves, and strange symbols written in the sand of Mars by robotic probes. Then they came in whispers carried through the Valari networks, messages from other worlds. "We saw you. We would like to know you." Elias Monroe sat alone in a quiet room, reading the latest reports. He was older now, his hair a little more silver, his steps slower, but his mind was as sharp as ever. He had helped Earth survive one of its greatest tests. Now, it was time to help it grow. He called together a team of scientists, diplomats, artists, and even schoolchildren, not to make decisions, but to ask questions. What kind of world did Earth want to be in the galaxy? A warrior? A traitor? A listener? Or something new? Nia, Raphael, and Jaden joined him, as did Layla and Joseph Lane, Amira's parents. They met under the Golden Star Monument, where the sky glowed softly with Earth's new satellite ring, made of peaceful observation, stations not weapons. The group talked for hours. Some wanted to move slowly, others wanted to open every possible door. But all agreed on one thing. Earth had a chance to shape its place in the galaxy not by power, but by values. So they created the Echo Accord. The Echo Accord was not a law. It was a promise. It said Earth would listen before acting, help before harming, and always remember that every species, no matter how strange, carried stories, sorrow, and dreams. To test this, they agreed to welcome the first visitor from beyond the Valari. Her name was Kira, from a planet called Ile. She arrived alone, not in a ship, but in a shell of energy that folded space. No one had seen technology like it before. She was tall and covered in shimmering scales that changed color with emotion. She spoke by touching objects, turning them into voices. Her first words, when her hand touched the surface of a rock in Antarctica, were, "This world hums with kindness." People were curious. Cameras followed her every step. Scientists took notes. Children drew pictures of her in bright colors. But not everyone was welcoming. Some were nervous. She didn't look like the Valari. She didn't look human at all. When asked why she had come alone, Kira responded, "If I come with many, you will see a group. If I come alone, you will see me." She stayed in a peaceful village in Norway, living in a clear dome that responded to her voice. She helped repair old buildings by singing to the stones, taught children how to fold light into shapes, and even helped heal a sick bird just by placing her palm on its feathers. But one evening, she received a question from a little boy named Arlo. "Do you know about Amira?" he asked. Kira's eyes glowed gold. She nodded. "Yes, her name travels far. She is known on planets where even your sun is a myth." "Do you miss her?" Arlo asked. Kira was silent for a moment. Then she whispered, "I did not meet her, but I miss what she could have become. She gave your world something rare, a second chance." That night, Kira went to the Star of Amira garden, placed her hand on the stone, and left behind a single feather that glowed softly in the dark. It pulsed gently like a heartbeat. But Earth's growing presence in the galaxy was not without danger. Not all civilizations wanted peace. Not all admired Earth's forgiveness. Some saw it as weakness. One such race was the Drekarn, a powerful ancient species who had once ruled several star systems through fear. They had watched Earth quietly. They had waited. Now, they decided to test it. A small probe entered Earth's orbit without permission. It was invisible to most sensors. It recorded voices, scanned cities, and sent the data back. When Earth discovered it, they sent a polite message. "Please explain your presence." The Drekarn responded not with words, but with a warning. "You are soft. Softness is dangerous. We will come. Prepare." Earth was frightened. This was no accident like before. This was a threat. The United Defense Network activated shields. Satellites scanned the stars for any sign of invasion. Some wanted to strike first. Others remembered Amira, remembered mercy. Elias Munro stood before the world once more and asked, "What would she want us to do?" The answer wasn't easy. Finally, Earth made a decision. They would not attack, but they would show they were not weak. A signal was sent through the galaxy, not in anger but in strength. It was a song, written by Raphael, played using instruments built by Earth and Valari together. It was called "We Remember," and it told the story of a child's death, a world's grief, and the choice to heal. The song was broadcast to the Drekarn. For 3 days, nothing happened. Then something strange occurred. The Drekarn responded, not with weapons, but with silence. They did not arrive. They did not speak. Instead, they vanished from Earth's sensors. Some believed they were confused. Others believed they were ashamed. No one knew for sure. But the threat passed, and the song became known across galaxies as "The Day the War Did Not Begin." After that, more visitors came. A race of sky-dwelling thinkers from a gas giant called Nemea, gentle walkers from the oceans of Tralin 6, a species of living crystal who spoke in temperature and rhythm. Each one brought a piece of something Earth had never known, new ideas, new dreams, and new understandings of life. Schools on Earth changed. Children studied galactic languages and diplomacy alongside math and science. Museums displayed artifacts not only from ancient Egypt or Greece, but from planets where the stars never rise. A special center was built on the moon, the Amira Center, for interstellar peace. It was carved into the rock with a dome of clear glass showing Earth in the sky. Inside it, anyone, human or alien, could speak, share, or seek help. But even in peace, there were shadows. A small group calling themselves the Guardians of Purity believed Earth was making a mistake. They said humans should stay alone. That contact with aliens would destroy Earth's culture. They began spreading lies, attacking visitors, and trying to block communication channels. One day they hacked a global broadcast, showing violent images, screaming, "Earth for Earth." The world was shaken. But this time it didn't respond with fear. In every country, people painted stars on buildings. Teachers told stories of Amira. Children stood with signs, "We are Earth, and Earth is kind." Even the Valari responded. Thalen himself returned. He stood beside Elias Monroe and Layla Lane in front of a global audience. Thalen said, "When Amira died, Earth chose not to hate us. Now someone wants you to hate yourselves. But hate is not your way. We know that now." And the message was clear. Earth would not return to the shadows. Later that week, a small boy came to the Amira garden. He brought with him a letter. He said it was from his older brother, who had once been part of the Guardians but had changed his mind. The letter read, "I was angry. I thought we needed to be strong. But I see now strength isn't silence or fear. It's love that doesn't break, even after pain. Amira taught us that. Forgive me." Layla Lane placed the letter next to the golden star. And far above, on a distant space station orbiting a sun unlike Earth's, a screen blinked with a message from another species. Just 3 words. "We are coming. Not with weapons, not with threats, but with hope." Because the galaxy had heard Earth's voice. And it was beautiful. The sky over Earth looked different now. It was not just stars anymore. Tiny lights blinked in soft colors, green, blue, amber, moving slowly across the sky. They were not planes or satellites. They were ships, visitors, friends, learners. Earth had become a place where new voices gathered, where stories from distant galaxies were shared over music, drawings, and quiet talks in open gardens, where humans learned how others lived, and others learned what it meant to be human. In the middle of all this change, Layla Lane stood beside her husband Joseph under the dome of the Amira Center on the moon. It was quiet there, with only the soft hum of machines and the faraway sparkle of Earth hanging in the black sky. Today was a special day, the 5-year anniversary of the day Amira had died. There was no ceremony with speeches or cameras. That had already happened back on Earth. This moment was just for them. Joseph touched the small crystal feather that had been left long ago by Kira, the alien visitor from Illy. It still glowed gently, warm in his hand. Layla whispered, "She would have liked this place. It's full of stories." Joseph nodded. "And stars. She always wanted to go to the stars." Even after 5 years, their hearts still ached. But there was something else inside them now. Peace. The knowledge that Amira's death had not been the end, but the beginning of something bigger. Back on Earth, something important was happening. A giant structure was being completed above the Pacific Ocean, floating high in the sky like a silver ring. It was called the Harmony Gateway. It would be the main point of connection between Earth and the Intergalactic Council, a new group made up of peaceful species who wanted to work together, learn, and help one another. Earth had been offered a place among the 12 founding worlds. And not just a place, a seat. It was a great honor. No one on Earth had ever imagined such a thing, but not everyone agreed on who should take that seat. The governments of Earth held meetings. Scientists and artists gave speeches. Soldiers and farmers voted. Some thought a leader should go. Others wanted a scientist. A few believed it should be someone completely new. Then, a quiet voice rose from the crowd. Jaden. Now older, with a calm strength in his voice, Jaden stepped forward during a global broadcast and said, "We keep asking, who's the smartest or the strongest or the most powerful, but maybe we need someone who knows what it feels like to lose something and still choose hope." The room fell silent. People watched around the world. And then someone asked, "Who do you have in mind?" Jaden simply replied, "Her mother." First, Layla Lane refused. "I'm not a politician," she said. "I'm just a teacher." But people remembered. They remembered how she had stood by Amira's grave when everyone else wanted war. They remembered the day she forgave Thalen, even when her voice shook. They remembered her calm strength when the world was ready to fall apart. After days of pleading and letters from every corner of the world, even messages from alien worlds, Layla agreed. And so, on a clear morning, she stepped onto a soft light ship shaped like a spiral shell, surrounded by children from every continent, and rose into the sky. At the Harmony Gateway, 12 seats waited, each one shaped differently, based on the needs and styles of the species who would sit in them. One floated, one shimmered, one was made entirely of sound. Layla's seat looked simple. A wooden bench with carved names: Amira, Jaden, Nia, Raphael, Elias. When she spoke, she didn't use grand words. She told the story of a little girl who loved stars, who dreamed of flying, who was lost in a moment of confusion and fear, and how, instead of war, the world chose mercy. She ended by saying, "We are not perfect, we make mistakes, but we are willing to learn, and to love, even after loss." The room was silent. Then, one by one, each representative rose and placed a symbol of peace before her. A stone, a flower, a shell, a breath of light, Earth's seat was accepted. Back on Earth, the world didn't slow down. People continued working, building, exploring. But they also began thinking differently. New schools opened, not just for math or science, but for empathy, listening, and cooperation. Students exchanged messages with alien children. Virtual rooms were created where humans and aliens could paint together, play music, or simply talk. A program called Voice Across the Stars allowed anyone, even the poorest child in a faraway village, to speak to someone from another planet. One boy in Ethiopia spoke to a crystal child from the ice world of Zira. They didn't understand each other's words, but they drew pictures together on a shared screen. A sun, a snowflake, and a smiling face. But peace is never easy forever. A ripple passed through the council. The Drekarn, the same species that once threatened Earth with destruction, had returned, but not in anger. They sent a request for help. Plague was spreading across their world, one they could not stop. Their own people were dying by the thousands. Many worlds refused to help. Old anger and fear remained. The Drekarn had once ruled through violence. Few had forgotten. The council was divided. Some said to let them face their own fate. Others said mercy was dangerous. Once again, the world turned to Earth. Layla Lane stood up and said, "We do not forget what they did, but we remember something stronger. What we chose to do instead. We chose to forgive, and we will not become like those who caused our pain." The council hesitated. Then, slowly, one world after another joined Earth's decision. A rescue fleet was sent: doctors, machines, medicine, and light ships capable of healing entire cities. Among the volunteers were Raphael, now a father of two, and Nia, who had trained in alien medicine. When they reached the Drekarn world, what they found shocked them. The once mighty race was broken. Their cities were silent. Their people lived in shadows. Pride had turned to silence. Arrogance to regret. One Drekarn child, small and shaking, held out a broken communicator and whispered in perfect Earth English, "You came?" Nia knelt and hugged him. "Of course we did." Months passed. The plague was stopped. Slowly the Drekarn began to heal. They sent a message to Earth. It said only, "We remember. We are sorry. Thank you." And Earth replied, "We remember too. Let's begin again." Back on Earth, a strange thing happened. A tree grew in the middle of a desert in Namibia. No one had planted it. No one watered it. Yet it glowed at night and sang soft music when the wind touched its branches. Scientists could not explain it, but children believed it was a gift. A thank you. From somewhere far away, and maybe they were right, because across the galaxy Earth had become something rare. Not the biggest, not the oldest, but the heart. a place where hurt had turned to healing, where sorrow became song, where a child's death became the start of a new way of living. Jaden became a writer. His first book was called She Touched the Stars. It was about Amira, but also about the future. He wrote, "We once thought aliens were monsters, but we learned monsters are made from fear, not species. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is forgive." Nia became a teacher. Raphael built instruments that could sing in 3 dimensions. And Kira, the first alien to ever walk Earth's grass, returned every year to place a single glowing feather in the garden of the Golden Star. Elias Monroe, old now and in a wheelchair, visited the Amira Center one last time before he passed. He whispered, "She changed everything." And he was right, because one girl, one moment, and one choice had changed the path of a world, not by force, not by power, but by mercy. And somewhere far beyond the edges of known space, in a place where light bends and time runs slow, a small star blinked softly, and perhaps, just perhaps, a voice whispered in the dark, "I see you, and I'm proud."